What's up, everybody? It is Nick back with another episode. Um, I seem to be getting attacked by people. Real quick, please like, share, subscribe, or don't. It does not matter. The point of this video is getting attacked over a comment from another YouTuber whose name is JD Delay. All I simply said was something that I repeated something he said. And then people started blowing up, and I realized that it's you guys just don't understand. There is no such thing as a left and a right. You know that, right? I mean, that does not exist. Like, do you remember the Speaker of the House address when they made that big deal and then the half room was Democrats and they sat down and didn't do nothing. The other half was the right and they were cheering and they brought in the Olympic team. They went to dinner after that, guys. They sit together and they go to dinner and they laugh. These people were making millions of dollars overnight off our money. What was it, just a couple weeks ago? Trump's son made $30 million in one night, something like that. I'm paraphrasing on oil. Why are these people getting rich? The ones that you cheer on, like the Trumps and his administration. Why are you cheering this on? What has Trump done? I'll wait. Didn't in 2016, I remember there was a debate where he said, "If I'm ever elected, you'll be in jail." And he was talking right to Hillary Clinton. Is she in jail? No. Is the swamp drained? No, it's overflowing. We're getting tanked in Iran. Absolutely tanked, whether you believe that or not. Go check out Black Scout Survival. Very recent ex special forces guy. There's Valhalla VFT on YouTube. You'll find him. He knows what's going on. These guys he's a Green Beret, special forces. He knows what's going on. Black Scout Survival really knows what's going on. Watch his content. They both do, but this stuff is fake, guys. You have to let go of Trump. You've got to let go. What is the problem? Why can't people let go of this man? Is it a physical attraction? Is it his speech? Is it the way he looks? I mean, we were just shown on TV using special weapons to go in the middle of the night and literally kidnap a country's president, allegedly, because the dude was seen in 7 different outfits in 24 hours, and in like 4 photos, he's smiling. This is all, to be honest, this is what they're doing is they're tearing down the system for the Antichrist system. And that's part of Trump's job. I know that's hard for a lot of people to swallow, but it's part of Trump's job to tear the system down that we have right now. You ever read the chapter behind me? Read it. We'll read it here in a second. It's very short. It's only a couple paragraphs. Guys, we're in the last hour. They're bringing in, if you look at my previous video, look at the slaughter bots. They've got these drones that can fit in the palm of your hand. And they're saying something like they're like 1,000 times smarter than you. And their maneuvering and speed capability is unbelievable. And with precision. They could burst right through your window, know right where you're at, and in a split nanosecond, go right into your. That's how advanced they are. We just haven't seen it physically yet with our eyes. Did you see the video of I don't think I have it. If I do, I'm gonna share some of this. Yes, I do. Watch I'm gonna show this is gonna blow your mind. This is end time stuff, folks. Forget about Trump, Biden, Kamala, JD Vance, Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens. Just set all of them aside for a second. All right. And hold on, let me add this guy to the stage. And just pay attention. Just watch this. This is going to blow your mind, man.
What in the world is going on here?
38 years, I've never been involved or seen anything to this extent as far as injuries caused by a wild animal.
Before I go ahead and get into that bizarre news story, this was seen in the skies above Indonesia.
Apa sih Pak? Meteor ya? Bom ini. Hah? Bom. Ya, benar. Perang terus. Apa sih? Itu loh, Kak. Ada kayak gini ya? Ojo ngomong kiamat. Tapi kan kiamat dari Jumat ke bawah ya?
There were multiple angles of this thing, and it was also seen in Argentina around the same time. But what's interesting, when we used to see this in the United States, I believe last year, a lot, every time they would tell us it was just SpaceX. Either Elon Musk's rocket had exploded in midair, or it was one of the rockets in flight. But this time, what was captured yesterday, there was no SpaceX to be blamed. Initially, news came out from Indonesia that these people had seen fireworks. But now they're coming out and saying that it was just China's Long March 3B rocket moving from the direction of India toward the Indian Ocean. But again, on the same exact day, it was also seen over in Argentina, which is nowhere near the Indian Ocean. It should also be interesting to note that when this was seen above Indonesia, they had a 6.0 magnitude earthquake. That might not have any correlation whatsoever, but something's telling me that they are not telling us the truth as to what this could be. But also, something interesting was seen above Texas as well. Just take a look at this. This was a drone show over in Texas.
Check this out, man. Y'all seeing this? Check this out.
So supposedly they did this show with over 5,000 drones, but as you can guess, a lot of the comments on this video are saying Project Bluebeam. But to me, if this really is drones being used to produce something like this, just imagine the technologies that we do not see, the technologies that we're not aware of that can produce something even greater. On the same day, this sighting was seen above Astana, Kazakhstan. Now, if you're not familiar with Astana, it has some very interesting architecture, like this building they call the Temple of
Check this out too.
Peace or something along those lines that sits exactly 200 politicians. People are absolutely convinced it's a UFO, but as this person pointed out, you can see the beam creating the image coming out this window.
20-37. Mana? Mana ki? Aslında.
And I know people out there will say, well, we're already aware of Project Bluebeam. They're not going to go through with it. But if you have not noticed, the government, they have been really ramping up the talks of aliens to the point we have Congress people talking about alien hybrids living among us. Alien human reproduction farms. I mean, it's just getting wackier as we go, but it's not slowing down.
Matt Gaetz, former colleague of yours, Matt Gaetz, making some pretty shocking statements yesterday about aliens. Take a look.
I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. Aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants.
All right. I mean,
listen to what this guy in the orange shirt says. Watch this. Check this out, man. This is crazy.
I don't have the tinfoil hat on just yet, Congressman, but I'm wondering, kind of how you react to that, because you are connected. You're on the UFO subcommittee. I mean, I'm just wondering what you make of that. Have you heard anything like that?
Well, I'm still a member of Congress, so I can't really comment too much on what Matt said. But I will say this.
Wait, seriously? Are you being serious, or is that tongue in cheek?
I'm being 100% serious.
Okay.
I've been 100% serious. I've been briefed by just about every alphabet agency there is. And I'll just tell you this. If they would release the things that I've seen, you would stay up. You'd be up at night worrying about or thinking about this stuff. We just need to disclose it all. I'm sick of it. Well, I was briefed. I'll just tell you this. I was briefed last week on an issue, 2 weeks ago, and it would have set the earth on. This country would have come unglued, I think, if they would have heard all that I heard. They would demand answers, and we need to.
So I called this out a couple weeks prior to Matt Gaetz being on the Benny Show and Tim Burchett being on Newsmax in this video right here. I said this is exactly what the government was going to go ahead and do. They have been dropping hints about this for quite some time as well, with demon face syndrome, and also these news reports coming from Harvard that evolved intelligent dinosaurs are walking among us. Aliens are walking among us and we don't know it. This whole alien agenda is going to be it's not going to all be about destruction and chaos, which they will do, but it's going to be one of the biggest psyops we have never seen before. I have the strongest feeling that they're going to go ahead and declassify information saying that a lot of the people walking among us that we see in grocery stores, out in the streets, even our neighbors, are not even human.
Did you just hear that? That possibly our neighbors are not even human. Just hold on real quick. Our neighbors. He's even going to go into family. Check this out, man. This is crazy.
That does is take away any trust that you may have left of people. But one theory is that instead of there being shapeshifters among us, I'm sure there are in the higher up positions in the so-called elites, but when it comes to everyday people, instead of them being just shapeshifters, what if something was placed in the jab that these people had taken, and once it's activated, something's activated inside, these people begin to mutate. And the government will say, oh, see, look, there's aliens among us. Then 2 weeks later, we have again the government now talking about this, which was also greatly hinted to when it came to Steven Spielberg's movie Disclosure Day, which this movie will definitely play a huge role in the psyop. For one.
Yes, it will. This movie is going to be big. Big.
Yes, it's Steven Spielberg. And two, we can just see the one-eyed symbolism all over the posters. Steven Spielberg did an interview last month where he was talking about believing aliens were walking among us. Watching the trailer, it's obvious that they were going to go ahead and tell us that aliens are walking among us. Even some people are aliens and they may not know it. They are just going to go all out with this psyop. We can also see how religion plays a role in this trailer as well, because that's one of the parts of Project Blue being religion, and how they'll use your religion against you and also test your faith. They're going to even have people believing that their own family members are aliens in disguise. It's going to be, as it's been said before, their ultimate final card. And to make sure they're adding in Hollywood and musicians, there was even Kanye West very recently with this new music video showing that he is an alien in disguise. And sad to say so many people are going to fall for it, like we have seen time and time again when it comes to a lot of these very suspicious events. But moving on, people are really talking about this Chris Bledsoe individual because of his interesting predictions. Like, for example, a year ago, he was on News Nation saying that all these orbs would appear in the skies once there was this great conflict over in the Middle East. He gets this
Doesn't this all, if you're listening to this and paying attention, doesn't this all, and it's going to kind of, it's all going to come together, but listen, it's all biblical. Just, it's all biblical, guys. All of this
information from an entity he calls the lady that talks to him. He also had wrote down that on or around Easter of 2026, the Star of Regulus will turn red over the Sphinx, and we would gain a new knowledge. Today is Easter, who knows, right? But now it's come out that supposedly he had pushed the date back to October. I wonder why. As I was looking into this guy, I saw another interview on News Nation, and this really did not sit well with me. Keep in mind, it's not just these individuals you're going to see, but also there were members of government, there were members of the Department of Defense, contractors. They're at a prayer summoning these things over.
In the past have talked to me about psionics and your capacity, if you like, to telepathically or psychically engage with the phenomenon. Something, of course, which a lot of people are very skeptical about. But was there an effort to connect that night?
Absolutely, there was an effort to, and here's Krypton. There was absolutely an intent to connect. I mean, there was a few of us left at the pre-hearing gathering, and there was just so much good energy there. And a few of us didn't, we weren't quite ready to go home yet. So, we set the intent to walk a few blocks and try to see what we could. We knew there was, light pollution, and we're in the middle of DC, but why not try since we're all together? And Chris offered so kindly to, lead the charge and start asking, and started his prayer, or I don't know what proper word to call it. If he calls it a prayer or the initial intent to
praying to these signs in the sky, these principles, powers. They're praying to these things in the sky. I don't know if you see my mouse. It's over the circle. But I mean, this is ridiculous. But I'm telling you, this video here gets deep. It gets way deep. This is just starting, guys. This is just starting.
See them and kind of make contact type thing.
Now, Chris, that's a perfect segue from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, to introduce you again.
Welcome.
Chris, just explain to us, please, how you do what you do, and what were you doing that night to invite the phenomenon?
Well, this thing's been a part of my life for the last half years, and I'm constantly connected to it. It's part of telepathic communication that never leaves. And so we were all together having this reception with a group of amazing individuals in Capitol Hill Club with Eric Burleson and Anna Luna, and I was thrilled to be invited there. And we just walked out afterwards. It was early, 10 o'clock, and Anna's like, "You guys want to go skywatch?" And I said, "Why not?" And so our group went over to the Library of Congress and stood up on the platform, and I just led the group in a little prayer, or that's what it is. It's a prayer to me, to so it can hear me, and it does. That's how it hears me, and it responded like right away. We had so many people from the government there. If you don't want to hear these experts say they saw what they saw, then they'll never believe. So I don't waste my time.
And I do sympathize, Ross, in that, as a scientist, I mean, I think that had I not seen this that night and had a broader body of experience and really been listening to what people both in the government and the private sector have disclosed, I would be asking the same questions. I think in some cases it comes from a curiosity and an eagerness actually to know what's out there.
I can tell you, Anna, I know we've got to respect the identities of some of the people that were there that evening, but it would be helpful for our audience to get an idea of just who was there that evening, whom we can identify. And as I understand it, it was quite a high-powered group of people many of whom have worked in government and defense and intelligence.
So one of the individuals that was there was Anna Paulina Luna, who has now been taking the charge of calling these things interdimensional beings when they used to be all types of other things: swamp gas, weather balloons, green men from other planets. Now, oddly enough, the government has constantly been calling them interdimensional.
What's interesting, and I kind of went into this with Joe Rogan, is when we were talking to some of the witnesses, they don't call them extraterrestrial. They call them interdimensional. There's also this aspect of these things defying physics as we know it. And then you look into texts that were removed from the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, that actually specifically address technologies, if you will, that were given to mankind or of entities not of human origin, non-human intelligence.
Interdimensional beings, and now we're seeing all kinds of news articles coming out that the Pentagon is saying that they're demons. But it's interesting, right? You have this guy and his group, and you have multiple members within the government out there praying, which none of the members within the government have denied. And then I asked myself, where have I heard something like this before? And then I remembered Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, among others, and we don't know who the others are, going to deserts in deep prayer, which was known as the ritual Babylon workings. One of the entities that Jack Parsons had spoke with was an entity known as the Lady Babylon. This ritualistic prayer, Babylon workings, took place in 1946, and then a year later, there was an explosion of UFO sightings.
And just to let you know, in case you didn't know, on June 14th, 1946, there was a blood moon. Donald Trump was born. 1947, the Roswell crash. The year after that, the CIA, and then the year after that, Mossad was created. And then when did the war start? On the blood moon. Guys, this is not a game. I'm telling you, this is not a game, man.
Now, I don't know this individual, Chris Bledsoe, personally, but my red flags went all over the place hearing about this prayer and ushering these things in. Especially the red flags went up hearing that the government was also involved. This whole interview just eerily sounded like Babylon and that the government 2.0. But moving on, as you've seen in the beginning of the video, there was a very strange animal attack, and nobody as of right now can figure out the animal.
In a remote yard in Blanco, Oklahoma, Alicia Maxey was ambushed before she could even reach the front door of a home where she was hoping to find work.
She heard a deep growl. She said she could remember this growl. And she turned to run back to the truck, and something just pounced on her and knocked her to the ground. And she says it was dog-like, is what she described, but she didn't say it was certainly a dog.
For her husband, Wallace, the first sight of his wife in the ICU was beyond anything he expected.
Whenever I first walked in here, I wasn't expecting to see this. You know, I was thinking more of like a dog chewed up on her leg or bites on her arm or something. I wasn't expecting this. But when I first walked in and I seen her, I broke down and started crying.
I'm in too much pain to say anything right now.
While Alicia fights through her fourth surgery, Pittsburgh County Sheriff Frankie McClendon says the sheer scale of the attack has prompted a search for answers.
38 years, I've never been involved or seen anything to this extent as far as injuries caused by a wild animal. Our question now is what caused these injuries? We've got the Department of Wildlife. They have actually taken some of the evidence, some of the clothing that was ripped from her, and send it off to one of their labs to see what we can find out if there's any way to identify what type of animal.
So she keeps describing it as like a dog, but she's not saying for certain that it was a dog. The only thing I can think of, given the fact that she described it as dog-like, is that maybe it was a coyote. But the thing is, coyote attacks are extremely rare, and one would think that given how frequent coyotes are in Pennsylvania, and there have been attacks associated with.
He got this wrong. This wasn't in Pennsylvania. This was in Pittsburgh, a small town like on the border of like Kansas, Oklahoma. It's not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He made a mistake. It's Oklahoma.
Coyotes, they would be more familiar with what a coyote attack looks like. And also, she said that it pounced on her, and coyotes don't pounce on something that's bigger than them, like a full-grown human. They usually pounce on smaller rodents. And I don't think that a coyote attack would be that much different from a dog attack. The sheriff, animal control, among others, all want to do a DNA test because they're saying they've never seen anything like this before. But they also want to rule out the possibility of it being a black bear or a mountain lion, or in their words, some kind of other creature altogether. But who knows what's being released onto the public? I remember a story that came out back in 2018.
I keep muting myself, sorry. Look at this stuff that's going on, guys. And see, they brought in AI at the exact perfect time, because now everybody can fight and say, that's fake, and I'm going to be in that same boat. I'm going to be in that same boat because you've got to question everything you see. The best evidence will probably be cell phone evidence, and then but that's out of the question anymore now because AI, man, you could just put it right into the computer. I got the S26. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, but I bet you could create some amazing things, but we don't know. So now they can start releasing things into the public, and we'll never know if it's real or not until it happens to you, or you see it, or it's somebody you know. I mean, this is getting crazy.
Where this man encountered this mysterious wolf-like creature. It did not look like any other creature he ever seen before. It was really big, but it also had small feet and big ears. He shot it. It was taken in for a DNA sample. It was so bizarre looking that people thought it was a hoax, but news came out and said that they did get the results back and it was just confirmed to be a normal gray wolf. But some people thought that given its unusual appearance that it may have been a dog man, like this article from King 5 News. This person was quoted as saying that could very well be what's being called dog man. One Facebook poster suggested they are spotted each day and the government quells any and all reports. Several people report being strong-armed into keeping quiet about their reports by men wearing black suits. These are just the facts. Look into it if you don't believe it. Very recently, there were reports all over Ohio, just right before this quote-unquote 7-ton asteroid appeared, that there were all these Bigfoot sightings everywhere.
Speaking about that, when that happened at 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't know if you remember, it was all over the news. I was sitting in this chair when that happened, and my chair, it's a heavy chair because it's one of them gaming chairs, those next gen or whatever. And it went like this, like something pushed it. And I'm just like, but it didn't feel like the house shook, but this chair literally moved. And sure enough, I got a little crack in my foundation too. So whatever that was that happened in Ohio definitely hit because I felt it. I was in the office when it happened.
Could have been a normal animal that went after this woman, but the veil at the end of the day is very thin. We are living in very, very strange times.
I was wondering if you had a small drill.
Check this out.
Anybody home?
On March 30th of this year, a user named The Livster posted this video along with a terrifying story. And in the story, she explains how after moving into a new apartment, an old man knocked on her door, asking her very personal questions. And within days, he moves in directly across from her. And he would constantly wait at his front door until she got home, just in an attempt to ask her questions. This eventually escalated to him reading her packages, opening her door, and even messing with her doorbell camera. However, she was smart and documented everything. Take a look.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's a cutie.
She's nice.
Yeah.
If I was only younger.
Well, I'll tell you what, she has a boyfriend.
So don't we all? I'd fucking boyfriends ago.
I'll tell you what, he's really...
Yeah.
What?
Nick?
Nick?
Yeah.
If you ever need anything, hesitate. Because I saw your car didn't move for a while and I didn't know if you were okay or sick or what.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I was just concerned, that's all.
Thanks.
All right, have a good day.
Now this eventually got to the point where she would run to and from her car just to avoid him. But seemingly the most disturbing part was that he was tracking her every move. And it was especially apparent when she had company.
I did it again. Here's my question. Where's her boyfriend? That dude's an absolute creep, man. Where's her boyfriend?
Well, c'est la vie.
At first, I thought this is just another elderly person that's very nosy because I've had neighbors like that. But then it becomes apparent he crosses that line into creepy when he's checking her doorbell camera, opening her door, reading her packages, waiting for her. Without a doubt, I would have definitely been looking for a new apartment as well.
This right here is the most disturbing urban legend that actually turned out to be true.
Yeah, this is a true story. This is pretty freaking creepy, man. You might have heard this one. It's creepy.
Welcome back to Explore Paranormal, where I find all these spooky, creepy things on the dark side of the internet and bring them here for you guys. So back in the 1970s, there was a fun house and it was called Laugh in the Dark. And it was located in Long Beach, California. Now this ride was supposed to be scary. So it really did its job when it started circulating around the community that all of the mannequins in the ride were fake. Except for one. People would always say that all of the mannequins in there, they were supposed to look real, but obviously they were fake. But there was one that just looked a little bit too human. Ridegoers would also say that the area that the mannequin was in just had an odd scent to it. Given that this was such a big attraction in the area, people were never really sure of the mannequin's origins. But a few years went by and eventually a film crew asked if they can use Laugh in the Dark for one of their locations. Once filming begins, they start lining up all their shots. And the director doesn't really like the way that this one mannequin looks in the background. So he asks one of the assistants to move it. So the crew member goes over to the mannequin to go and pick it up to move it out of the shot. And its arm pops off. Now, normally this wouldn't be that big of a deal. So when the crew member went to go pick up the arm, he said there was human bone inside, and it looked like beef jerky. After this incident, it was discovered that this was the body.
Beef jerky, that sounds familiar, don't it?
Of Elmer McCurdy, and he was an outlaw that had died about 65 years earlier. This amusement park got a hold of his body and was using it as a prop for their ride. A little bit of backstory on how Elmer got there. So Elmer, being an outlaw, he was in a shootout with the police about 65 years prior, and his body was sent to a funeral home where nobody really wanted to pay for him to be buried. So the undertaker basically said he's not going to do it without any sort of payment. So nobody buried him. He decided to make this into a money-making opportunity. So he propped Elmer's body up with a sign that said "The Bandit That Was Never Buried," and people could pay a nickel to come and see his body. Side note, in order for you to pay your nickel, you had to put the nickel inside Elmer's mouth. After a few years, there was a couple men that came by the funeral home claiming to be Elmer's long-lost brothers and that they were here to claim his body. But this wasn't true. This man ended up taking Elmer's body and using him at the local carnival as an attraction for people to come and see. For years, he ended up getting passed around from carnival to carnival. And eventually, people just kind of forgot about the lore behind him and that fact that he was a real person. But eventually, he just ended up being a prop in the Laugh in the Dark ride in Long Beach. So after learning the truth, the police were able to send his body back to Oklahoma to be buried. He actually had passed away in 1911, but he was finally buried in 1977. I'm going to remind you guys that this is a true story. The first time I heard it, I definitely did not believe it. I heard this a few years ago, and I ran to Google because I needed to make sure that it was actually true. And it is. This is the story of Elmer McCurdy. Thank you guys for watching today's story. If you guys like stories like this, do me a favor, throw a like and a comment on the video because it really helps me out. And go ahead and give me a follow if you want to see more from me. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye. This right here.
That creepy video came from Jason M. Felix, and it really makes you wonder if they're still doing things like that today. Because if you take a look at a lot of these mannequins, like for example the Balenciaga mannequins, they look a little too realistic, as if they'll come to life. But there's a whole theory surrounding Balenciaga anyway when it comes to people who end up missing.
Well, if I caught something like this eating my chickens, I'd let it have the chickens. A woman
Yeah, this was a little bit weird.
put a game camera in her chicken coop because something kept getting in her coops and getting her birds. And on this game camera, she captures this thing. Do you see it? Well, what about now? Now you're probably wondering, what is that thing? Well, I don't know. It looks like some sort of monkey with a mask on. Now, this woman lives in America, so there aren't monkeys running around, especially not with a mask on. Now, there are a lot of different explanations as to what this could be. Everything from an escaped monkey to a baby Sasquatch. But this wasn't the only night she captured it on the trail cam. She captured it again in this photo. But this time, the thing is less solid. It's almost like it's phasing in or out, like it's a mist. But it's the same height, it's in the same area, everything. And both times she captured it on camera, some of her fowl went missing. It makes you wonder, what is this thing? Did she capture a Sasquatch on camera? Or what do you think this thing is?
Now, I found this video from Chelsea Woe to be very interesting because my tribe, the Lenape, we do have a folklore about this small ape-like creature that wears a mask. That looks very similar to what this woman had captured. It's called the messing, but it's supposed to be a protector of animals. I don't think it's supposed to eat chickens, but it does look very similar.
I saw these like ditches and I thought it was like a river ditch.
This is the craziest. I think this one here's the craziest part of the whole entire video, in my opinion, because I am very invested in the case that you're going to hear.
And then I almost fell in it.
When I saw this video, I immediately thought of Brandon Swanson because Brandon Swanson disappeared without a trace while on the phone with his parents, and one of the leading theories about his disappearance is that he fell into a sinkhole. It was shortly after midnight on May 14th, 2008 when Brandon drove his car into a ditch on his way home from a small gathering at a fellow college student's house. Brandon was uninjured after crashing his car, so he got out and placed a call to his parents just before 2 a.m. While on the phone, he explains the situation to his father, who in turn tells him to stay where he is so that he can drive out and locate him. Now, at the time, Brandon believed that he was outside of the small town of Lind, and while talking to his dad, he said he could see the town's lights up ahead. As his parents headed out to find him, Brandon began flashing his brights to signal them to his location, and his parents did the same. But neither of them saw anything at all. Brandon stayed on the phone with his parents the entire time, but after a while, he started to get frustrated that his parents couldn't find him. So he decided that he was going to start walking towards the lights that he believed were coming from the downtown area of Lind. While walking, he continued to stay on the phone with his parents, but after 47 minutes into the call, Brandon interrupted their conversation saying, "Oh, and the line went dead. Brandon's dad attempted to call his phone back multiple times, but had no luck. Brandon was no longer answering. The drive from the home where the party was to his parents' home where Brandon was heading when he crashed should have only taken about 30 minutes. He left that home around midnight, but placed the call to his parents 2 hours later, stating that he was stuck in the ditch. Now, we don't know what Brandon was doing during that almost 2-hour window, but it's speculated that he may have just been trying to get himself out of the ditch before finally giving up and calling for help. Brandon was reported missing the next morning. When pulling up his cell phone records, it showed that he had actually been 25 miles in a different direction from where he thought he was. And it was this information that led to the discovery of his car. Although there was no damage done to his vehicle, 2 of the wheels weren't even touching the ground. Nothing unusual was found at the site, but the grass was so high in this area that investigators were unable to see which direction his footprints went off in. So they brought in search and rescue dogs who led them to a wooded area near a riverbank. The river was searched extensively, but they never found anything. They even set up these gates so that in the case that Brandon's remains or any of his belongings were in the river, they would get caught up in these nets while going downstream. But there was still nothing. And to this day, the whereabouts of Brandon Swanson is still a mystery. If the trail the dogs were following was in fact where Brandon went, he walked through a field instead of walking alongside the road. So despite Despite nothing being found during the search, some theorize that he fell into the river before his phone went dead, or that he may have fallen into a sinkhole while walking across the field, similar to what we saw in the first video.
And I saw these like ditches, and I thought it was like a river ditch, and then I almost fell in it.
Man, look how deep that is. That's crazy. I think it ends right after.
That great video came from Oddities on Elm Street. Now, this is a very old case, but a lot of people believe that he was either taken or abducted by UFOs or something along those lines. But the sinkhole theory does really make a lot of sense. Sinkholes are absolutely terrifying. I've heard stories where entire houses will disappear just because of a sinkhole, and there will be nothing left over whatsoever. Sinkholes are absolutely terrifying.
Something is going on with CERN again in 2026 this year, and people are starting to notice that the same pattern that's happened every time they fire that machine up. CERN isn't just a science lab, it is the most powerful machine on Earth. They literally smash particles together at near light speed to recreate conditions right after the Big Bang. Physicists at CERN have openly talked about the possibility of extra dimension, parallel universes, and something called the Higgs field, which some scientists believe holds reality itself together. Think about that for a second. If you're smashing particles together with enough energy to mimic the birth of the universe, and you're studying other dimensions, how do you know you're not opening something instead of just observing it like a portal? And people who live near CERN have reported strange stuff in the sky and all kinds of crazy sound when the collider is active. And there has been recent CERN activity, and people are already saying that time feels faster and reality feels off. Whatever they're doing over there, they are literally messing with reality itself. And the only little evidence we have that they're messing with things and actually changing is Mandela effects. It seems like each time they fire up that machine, new Mandela effects pop up. But let me know what you think in the comments and stay weird. Something is going on with...
That great video came from Beyond Weird, and yeah, it seems like every time CERN initiates something, time gets a little bit more bizarre. Now, just very recently, they were transporting antimatter for the very first time ever, so let's go ahead and see what becomes of that. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe.
Well, that was a really good video by Seconds of Horror YouTube. I can't give that guy enough respect. He uploads every day, and it's really good stuff. It's always interesting. It always makes you think outside the box, and he's really, really waking up. I mean, he's way past the left to right. With everything that was shown and what was said, you know, the left to right just does not exist. For instance, guys, like everybody that wears these red MAGA hats, does anybody even know what MAGA means? If you look it up in any language, it means either like a magician, a high priestess, a wizard. It's always something negative, something biblical, dragon, whatever. It's also, and I didn't even know this, it's the 5th degree in the Church of Satan. So it's the highest degree in the Church of Satan. So Trump is the high priestess, or playing the high priestess right now, or at least being pulled by him. One of the two. But guys, I wanted to end this. Well, not even really end this. I don't know. Because with everything going on, and you read the thing behind me from Timothy, where it says, but godliness in the last days, Timothy chapter 2, 3. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, and unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control. I lost where I was at. Brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people. For among them are those who creep into households and capture weak women, burdened with sins and led astray by various passions, always learning and never able to arrive at a knowledge of the truth. Guys, the system is about to be torn down. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Take your money out of the bank if you haven't already. If you have an IRA or a 401k, get it out of the bank. Get it out as soon as you can because everybody else did. The Vatican did it 3 years ago. They ordered all their money back. Their precious metals, their crowns, their jewels, they ordered it all back to their vault because they knew what's coming. Everybody's going to lose everything. It's called the Great Reset for a reason, guys. They're not playing around. They're not. They're not playing around with us. And they got everybody fighting, thinking that this person's good or that person's bad or this person's good. It's all going to be deception. It all is deception. And the sad part is they've got us all fighting against each other. And that to me is just pathetic. It really is. They've got us so divided that they've got kids growing up without parents. That's how divided it is in this country. That's sad. That's really sad. Guys, I don't really have much more to say. Thank you guys for listening. Till the next one, I'll see you later.